Alright. It's time to get things underway here with the weekly updates. We are going to... Every time I say that we have a lot to talk about, it ends up being, like, the fastest episode I've ever done. I don't know why. Like, I'll have the most stuff to cover in, like, several episodes, and then it still ends up being the fastest stream I do. So, we'll see how things unfold here. We have quite a bit to talk about, so, let's just get started here. We're gonna start with the weekend recap. Usually the weekend recap has nothing to do with me. Today it will, so, yeah. We'll talk about that. It was, I'm still kind of 50-50 on that, but we'll get to that later. We're gonna get things kicked off in the arenas, and a thing we'll cover just a little bit later down the line is, we're gonna talk about your first Arena Series champion, but we're gonna get around to that just a little bit later. So we're gonna start our results in Cincinnati, Ohio. Now this was Arena Series East. Now I say this every time I cover shows, but in case there's someone for the first time or something like that, if you don't know what the lineup is off the top of your head or something like that, just go to the Monster Jam website. You'll see the lineups and tours all around every corner. So this was Arena Series East in Cincinnati. Now this is an arena show with 3 or more events, so we are just going to talk about the basics, like overall points champions. So we're gonna start Saturday afternoon, where in 5th place was Armando Castro and El Toro Loco with 11 points. In 4th place was Bernard Light and the Megalodon with 16 points. In 3rd place, tied, kind of, was Lindsay Reed Scooby-Doo, also with 16 points. In 2nd place was Dalton Widener and Jurassic Attack with 19 points. And also with 19 points, who was your overall champion Saturday afternoon, was Weston Anderson and Gravedigger with 19 points. Now, all those scores are pretty close together, so I guess everyone had an alright night. No one did exceptionally well or terrible, according to the results. I don't know. I don't really see any of that. Hold on. YouTube is glitching out right now. It says I have -1 viewers. Something's not right here. Something is definitely not right here. Okay. Yeah, Seattle I talked about last weekend. Now we're gonna move into Saturday night results, where your 5th place in the overall was Armando Castro El Toro Loco, another event that he didn't get the score he was looking for. 4th place was Lindsay Reed and Scooby-Doo with 14 points. 3rd place was Bernard Light with 16 points. 2nd place was Weston Anderson and 21 points, the previous night's champion. And the previous night's 2nd place, this time with 22 points, and this time with the overall win, is Dalton Widener and Jurassic Attack. And then Sunday afternoon, we see in 5th place Bernard Light and the Megalodon with 14 points. Also with 14 points in 4th place is Lindsay Reed and Scooby-Doo. In 3rd place, we see Hunter Sousa and Earthshaker, and also with 16 points, we see Dalton Widener and Jurassic Attack. So both teams are out of Monster members, both get 16 points for 2nd and 3rd tie. But then your overall winner Sunday afternoon was Armando Castro and the El Toro Loco. Now, this weekend, Weston Anderson didn't get what he wanted. He only got 43 points out of a possible 72, I think. So yeah, he didn't get what he was looking for, but there are some drivers like Dalton Widener who had a bit more consistency, and I'm glad to see that. Next, we're going to go to Des Moines, Iowa. So this is Arena Series West. Again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what all the different Arena Series are. They're already on the Monster Jam website, and I don't want to waste the time for the people that already do know them. So we're going to, again, it's an arena show, 3 or more events, so I'm just going to go for overall kind of things. So, Arena Series West, Saturday afternoon, 5th place, we saw Brandon Arthur and El Toro Loco, which is, I mean, that's not bad, because he was also tied for 4th place, which was Ashley Sanford and Megalodon. So they both actually got pretty decent scores for being rookies. In 3rd place was Bailey Shea and the Monster Mutt Dalmatian with 21 points. Second place was Kristen Anderson Gravedigger with 25 points. And your overall event winner for Saturday afternoon was Tristan England and Earthshaker with 29 points. Saturday night, in 5th place, we see Ashley Stanford and Megalodon. We see in 4th place Tristan England and Earthshaker. In 3rd place, and this is actually comes as a bit of a surprise to me, Mark Hall and Ramnator gets 3rd place Saturday night, which is pretty good. I haven't seen him place that high in quite a while, so that's interesting. 2nd place is Kristen Anderson once again with 26 points. But your overall event winner for Saturday night was David Olfert and the Velociraptor. So that was a very interesting overall. We see David Olfert make his comeback after a bit of struggles this season, and Mark Hall plays his podium. So that's pretty cool. Sunday afternoon, the final show for Arena Series West this past weekend. In 5th place, we see Bailey Shea and the Monster Mutt Dalmatian. In 4th place, we see Ashley Sanford and Megalodon. In 3rd place with 22 points, we see Kristen Anderson. In 2nd place with 23 points, we see David Olfert. And your overall event winner for Sunday afternoon was Tristan England and Earthshaker with 25 points. We're going to get back to Arena Series Central. So first, before we go to that, we're going to head over to Philadelphia. This is a stadium show, only one event, so we're going to go over all the specifics that we can fit into the time frame. So we're going to start at the semifinals of racing. In the semifinals, we see Travis Mowry and Velociraptor beat Tom Meents and the Max D. And we see Bryce Kenny with the Great Clips Mohawk Warrior beat Caleb Blood and the Soldier of Fortune. But in the racing finals, Bryce Kenny would again get what he was looking for. So Bryce Kenny wins the racing finals, defeating Travis Mowry in the Velociraptor. Moving over to the skills challenge, I did see this, but I don't really remember much because this event was the same day that I was in a different event, so I wasn't fully focused, laser focused on this event. But we're going to start in 5th place, which was Cole Vennard and the Black Pearl. He got a 7.258. In 4th place was Camden Murphy and the Bakugan Dragonoid was 7.363. And then we're into the podium. So 3rd place was Bryce Kenny with the Great Clips Mohawk Warrior, 8.746. I don't know if he did anything spectacular or just moonwalks per usual. I know moonwalks do typically score pretty high. In 2nd place was Adam Anderson and Gravedigger with an 8.951. He had, I don't remember what his first move was. I believe it was a moonwalk attempt. But his second move, he had a nice little sidewall save off of a bicycle that would get him 2nd place in the skills challenge. But your skills challenge winner was Tom Meents, the Max D, who had, I believe he did a maximum moonwalk. And then he did a moonwalk off one of the little turn ramps that he brought all the way over to the main area. This was St. Louis style, I believe. So, he took it all the way down to the big ramp, and then he got a cool save down there, so that would get him the skills challenge win. Now into the freestyle competition. This wasn't a very spectacular freestyle, but, there was air and there was backflips. So we're going to start here in 5th place. Camden Murphy and the Bakugan Dragonoid gets an 8.330. In 4th place, we see Jamie Garner and the El Toro Loco with an 8.508. In 3rd place, we see Tom Meents and Max D with a flat 8.0. Or sorry, 8.7. Not 8.0. 8.7, and then it's zeros. In 2nd place, we see Adam Anderson and the Gravedigger with a 9.282. And then your winner was Caleb Blood, Soldier of Fortune with a 9.394. Caleb Blood might have done something in that run, but I don't really remember anything exceptional from this event. There were a couple good moments, but nothing super noteworthy except for the skills challenge. In the overall event, in 5th place is Camden Murphy and Bakugan Dragonoid with 21 points. In 4th place is Bryce Kenny and the Great Clips Mohawk Warrior with 24 points. In 3rd place is Adam Anderson and Gravedigger with 27 points. And 2nd place is your freestyle winner, Caleb Blood and Soldier Fortune with 28 points. But your overall winner celebrating 20 years was Tom Meents and the Max D. Now we're going to hop over to Green Bay. Arena Series Central, where your first Arena Series champion was crowned. Now I'm not going to super go over these results. I'm just going to tell you the overall winners. It was a full weekend sweep for John Zimmer Jr. as far as overall goes, but he didn't win every single event. And coming out of this, I'm going to go over just some names we saw on the podiums more often. Brandon Vincent was one of them. We saw Zach Garner up there reasonably often. And Brandon Telechka also made a couple appearances. And he actually had a great weekend. I really liked watching his driving from, I want to say Zachary 59. I don't remember where I watched the videos from. But John Zimmer Jr. And Brandon Telechka both had great weekends out in Green Bay, so that was pretty cool. But despite only placing podium 2 out of the 3 events and never getting the overall win, your series points champion for Arena Series Central, just from racking up points from all the other events that he's been to thus far, your overall series points champion for Arena Series Central, if you haven't already seen it, is Brandon Vincent in Gravedigger. He ended his series off with 1,026 points. And second place, John Zimmer Jr. in Terminal Velocity. He was close. He was only 54 points behind with 972 points. But he didn't quite get enough to get this series championship. I'm hoping with the podium of Brandon Vincent, John Zimmer Jr., and Zach Garner, we might see all 3 of those drivers at the World Finals. But right now, it's kind of hard to say, and we'll just have to see how things unfold from here. Now we're going to bounce back to the results because we have one more event to talk about. And that is the event which I attended this past weekend, which was Glendale, April 15th, Saturday, this past Saturday. It was a cool show. Again, I talked about this at the very start. I'm still split 50-50 on if I really like this event or not. Let's just get into it. So, let's start in the racing competition. This is by far the most interesting and diverse racing semifinals we've seen yet. We see John Gordon and the Bad Company defeat Bar Musauer and Zombie, and we see Cynthia Gauthier and the Lucas Stabilizer defeat Corey Rummel in the Megalodon. So that's one of the more interesting semifinals I think we've seen, with Cynthia Gauthier. I mean, Bari Musauer and Corey Rummel are both very fast. I just feel like it's weird, like there's some names that should be there that aren't. They're just missing because there were some great improvements by some of these competitors as opposed to their other events. Like, some of these drivers had great nights. And then in the racing finals, we see John Gordon and the Bad Company take the win over Cynthia Gauthier and the Lucas Stabilizer, which is a 2-event streak. He won in Seattle, and then he won in Glendale. In the Great Clip Skills Challenge, we're going to start at 5th place. Now, I'm going to go out here and say it. This might be, not even might be, this was the worst skills challenge I have ever seen. Like, I'm sure I've watched videos of other skills challenges that maybe were worse than this. But based on events that I personally have gone to, this was, by quite a long shot, the worst skills challenge that I have ever seen. I know I'm not trying to trash on the drivers by any means. I mean, they all have had great years, but this was just not their night for the skills challenge. So we're going to start in 5th place here. Now, this is a good 5th place. We actually see Ryan DeSharoon in the Shaker in 5th place with an 8.252. Personally, I think he did alright. I think he should have been podium. He had a nice moonwalk for hit 1, and then he had this awesome wheelie all the way onto the wheelie bar for hit number 2, but he just barely wasn't able to save it and went over. In 4th place is Corey Rummel in Megalodon with an 8.599. He had 2 good moonwalks. Again, I'm not sure why he wasn't podium. Personally, I feel like he should have been. In 3rd place was Ryan Anderson in Son of a Digger with an 8.713. He was not able to put together what he was looking for. He did get 2 decent bicycles off, but he didn't get any combos, any saves, anything like that. And personally, I'm not trashing on Ryan Anderson by any means, but it was definitely personally, the worst skills challenge, I think, attempt that I've seen from him. Just because it wasn't... Usually, he comes out and it's something spectacular. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't outstanding. It didn't really, like, stand out. In second place was Bari Musauer and Zombie with an 8.920. He had some nice cyclones. That was one of the few things that I actually was semi-interested in with this skills challenge. And then your winner was Tyler Meninga in the Gravedigger with an 8.290. He had a moonwalk, and his second move was a bicycle attempt that didn't last very long. So again, I don't really know why he won. Only really one of his moves was super grid, but I mean, it is what it is. And I actually want to bounce back here. In sixth place was Cynthia Gauthier with the Lucas Stabilizer, who had a pretty cool moonwalk attempt, and it, you know, right but not great wheelie. Personally, I think that should have been scored a bit higher too, as opposed to some of these other runs we saw. Finally, we're going to take a look at the freestyle competition. This is when things get interesting. When you look at our tour, Stadium Tour Blue, what do you expect the field to look like? Who do you expect to see on the bottom half of the competition? You know, towards the bottom of the competition. Who do you expect to see? Maybe you'll expect to see Chelsea Van Cleve because she's still on her rookie year, you know? Maybe you'll expect to see Joe Foley because he's also still on his rookie year with these big fields, and he hasn't got, I mean, in the context of before Glendale, he hadn't got great air. Or maybe Randy Shaker would have more unexpected truck problems show up, and he would end up towards the bottom of the field. But no, the two runs, so there were 10 out of 12 runs were scored. The two runs that weren't scored in the entire show was Ryan Anderson and Tyler Meninga. Now, I have no clue how this happens. How do you have your two most prestigious competitors on the tour both flunk as soon as they enter the track for freestyle? How do they do that? How bad? I mean, I'm not trying to be rude to their crews either, but with a company like Feld that puts all the attention onto those two trucks, and you're gonna let them go there and just completely trash as soon as they enter the field? Gotta question the quality control there. I mean, I get Ryan had that crash 2 weeks ago, though. I mean, after a crash like that, I would have scrambled to replace everything on the truck, because you have no idea what's broken. But as soon as he entered the track, he broke. Tyler Meninga got 2 jumps. One was pretty cool. The other one, he hit the jump, shut off, and broke a tire rod instantly. So, I'm kind of split with that. I don't know how that managed to happen. But, I mean, the rest of freestyle was great. That alone is what makes me not too sure if I really liked freestyle or not. But there were definitely some incredible runs that I did like, and I don't know. Between the skills challenge not being outstanding, the racing event being uneventful, no real crazy moves happened. It was just, I mean, there were some drivers that got sideways, which makes it even longer. And the fact that the two best competitors did in freestyle, it really tosses me around and whether I like the show or not. But we're going to move into the freestyle results now that we're done talking about the bottom. We're going to start in 5th place with Colt Stevens and Thunder Roars. He had an 8.544. His run was pretty decent. He had some pretty good air, and he landed the mini flip, so that was cool. I don't know if he's done that yet this season, but he did land it pretty much right on the clock. 4th place, a run that I think was way underscored, was Bari Musauer in the Zombie with an 8.734. He had incredible air. He had a backflip. Obviously, in current day, you're gonna get that big score if you get that backflip. And then his final move, he launches it as hard as possible, and he got this cool save on the side of the truck. And like, it was a really good run. But he only ended up getting 4th place with an 8.734. I don't know. I feel like that's a bit harsh. I think that should have been 2nd place. which we'll get to who that is shortly. In third place was John Gordon of Bad Company with an 8.864. This one should not be this high up in the scoring. The only reason it is because he's the first driver that attempted the backflip ramp. He didn't even land it, keep in mind, so I don't know how he got podium, but he ended up in third place with an 8.864, which, I mean, it is what it is. At this point in the season, the scores for any driver that's not Ryan Anderson or Tyler Mendiga are unimportant because everyone else is too far behind. In second place was Cynthia Gauthier with Lucas Stabilizer with a 9.569. I don't remember what she's done the rest of the season, but this, if she didn't actually do something too crazy the rest of the season, was one of the best runs I've ever seen her do from any show. Like, it was a really good run. It was on the ragged edge. She was getting sideways, she was getting wheelies, she got the backflip, she got big air. It was a great run. But it would only be enough for second place because Corey Rummel comes out. Now he got the racing semifinals and he got fourth in the skills challenge. So he's not in a great, outstanding spot, but he's still a pretty good place in the lineup coming into freestyle. Based on averages, he would be in fourth, but obviously all the other drivers are all over the place, so he's not in fourth at this point in the overall event championship. There are other drivers that were a little bit lower still. So Corey Rummel comes out. He has a pretty good run going. He got a couple good jumps. For the most part, the air wasn't too big. He lands the backflip. You know, it's whatever after you've seen it happen with 12. Well, it's a 12 truck field. I mean, 8 of the other drivers already did that move. So, it's not particularly crazy when he lands the backflip. Then he goes over to the pod, you know, gets a little air. Not great air, whatever. And then he takes it around to the ramp off the side of the racing lane that was near the backflip. I don't know how to describe this. It's the ramp that usually has the APAC, right? It's that ramp. But the APAC was moved to a mini flip ramp on the opposite side of the stadium. So there's not an APAC there anymore, which means Corey Rummel approaches the side of a dirt ramp. He gets a full backflip rotation, kicks over onto the lid of the truck. He doesn't land it, but he saves it. It was really cool. It was the same. It was pretty similar, not identical to what Cole Vennard did last year in October. I mean, obviously, Cole Vennard did it off the backflip ramp. Corey Rummel did it out of thin air. It was really cool. That would get him the win with a 9.643. It's definitely top 3 runs I've ever recorded. Despite the air not being super great, I wouldn't count out the run because the wow factor is what really pushed that up. So it was a great run. There are a few things I want to talk about outside of just the standings with freestyle. Chelsea Van Cleef had a crazy rollover that was interesting. Ryan DeShroon is now on a 2-weekend streak of great runs, backflip, big air, all that stuff, without braking, so that's good. Looks like maybe those truck problems, I don't want to jinx anything, for now, are gone. Joe Foley threw down definitely what was the best momentum that he's had all year long. I'd say out of like 15 hits, he maybe had 1 or 2 that weren't great. He had incredible air left and right. By the end of the run, he comes back to that APAC, the ramp that usually has the APAC but didn't. He goes to that, hits the step up, and at this point he could have gone for the backflip ramp, which definitely would have been good for his score, but he carries over to a racing lane and goes for the jump and starts on fire. So, I mean, ideally, for a higher score, I would have liked to see him get the backflip. Again, not because he needed it, but it would definitely boost his score a lot. But he wasn't able to make it over to the backflip ramp because his truck blew up right after hitting the racing lane. So that was definitely his best run of the year, had he landed a backflip, but it was, despite that, definitely his best momentum of the year. And I think that's all the stuff I really have to cover with freestyle that I didn't in the points. Chris Kohler had a cool crash, but it was pretty similar to most crashes we see with this track setup. And again, he landed the backflip, and he actually pulled the fabric off the tail mid-freestyle, which you don't see super often, so that was cool. And the overall, we start at 5th place, which was Ryan Disharoon in the Shaker with 20 points. In 4th place was John Gordon and Bad Company with 27 points, which getting 3rd in freestyle, winning racing, that's not super surprising. It is surprising when you consider he was bottom 5 in skills, but he still did manage to get 4th place in the overall. In 3rd place was Cynthia Gauthier in the Lucas Stabilizer. She was always, I mean, for some of these competitions, towards the top, but not actually the top. So she was like in the racing finals or 2nd in freestyle. She was 6th in skills. So she was able to get 3rd place in the overall with 29 points. In 2nd place with 30 points was Bari Musauer and Zombie, who, had he gotten a higher score in freestyle, he would have had the overall. He didn't get the higher score. That's the only reason I'm glad he didn't get a higher score in freestyle, was because he didn't get the overall. And, I mean, I'm not trying to be harsh, but the person who got the overall, I'd much rather get the overall. Not because I don't like Bari, or his driving, but, I do like who did get the overall. I mean, Bari had a great night in freestyle particularly, but he still ended up getting 2nd in skills and 3rd in racing too. So he had a pretty good, pretty solid night. But in the end, your winner, your freestyle winner, Corey Rummel and Megalodon, would get the overall win. It's his first of the year. The freestyle was incredible. His skills was definitely one of the better ones of the night. It wasn't, none of the skills were super great that night, but both his moonwalks were solid. And racing, he did make it to the semifinals, and all that consistency piled up and allowed him to get the overall win. Tied with Bari Musauer. That's what I was saying. Bari Musauer got 1 place higher in freestyle. He'd get the overall, but because he didn't, Corey Rummel was able to secure that overall win. Now we're going to move over to the power rankings, and these things are all over the place this week. The power rankings they look like Christmas time with all the pluses and minuses, green and red, that I'm seeing. So, before we get too far into this, I'm going to talk about who's no longer here. I don't know every single driver that's not on this list. I do know for sure, though, that, unfortunately, Travis Mowry is no longer on the list, which may threaten Team Throttle Monster's ability to make it to their first World Finals, which is really a shame. We'll just have to see how it goes the rest of the year, but they might not be making it anymore. Because the whole year I was pretty set that they would, with a stadium driver on the team being high on the power rankings, but they moved him off this past weekend, so I don't know if Team Throttle Monster will still be able to make it either. It's not from a lack of effort, it's just, I mean, no one controls the power rankings except the officials. So let's get started here. In 20th place is Todd LeDuc and Megalodon, who's 3 places lower than prior. In 19th place is Jamie Garden and El Toro Loco, who is 2 places higher than prior. And 18th place is Cynthia Gauthier and the Lucas Stabilizer, who is 3 points higher than prior, or places, because of her great night that she did have in Glendale. And 17th is Dalton Widener and Jurassic Attack. He is 1 place lower than before, but that's because Corey Rummel and the Megalodon moved up 2 places after his overall win. So it's not that, I don't think Dalton Widener got moved down because his weekend was bad, it's just that Corey's weekend was better. In 15th place is Caleb Led and Soldier Fortune. In 14th place is Kristen Anderson and Gravedigger. In 13th place is Armando Castro and El Toro Loco. And in 12th place is Johnson Jr. and Terminal Velocity. None of them switched places. In 11th place is Bryce Kenny and the Great Clips Mohawk Warrior. He falls 2 spots. In 10th place remains Bari Musauer and Zombie. In 9th place, who went up 2 spots, was Tom Lentz and the Max D, celebrating 20 years. And then the rest of the list is the same from last week. So it goes Brandon Vincent in 8th, Elvis Linus in 7th, Camden Murphy in 6th, Adam Anderson in 5th, Tristan England in 4th, Ryan Anderson in 3rd, Weston Anderson in 2nd, and Tyler Menninga in 1st. Now, if it were me making this list, I would have moved Ryan and Tyler down a little bit. I'm going to be completely honest here. I would have probably put Adam Anderson up to 1st. I don't know. It depends how you look at it. But when neither Tyler Menninga or Ryan Anderson were even in the top half for overalls, I mean, are they really leading the power rankings? I don't know. What's left? I think that's all the big important stuff to address from this past weekend. So now we're into our next segment after what might be the biggest, longest weekend recap we've ever done. I don't know. No, it's hard to say because I know we have done some weekend recaps where, like, we do go through every single detail of the arena shows, which I don't do anymore because it just takes so long. That being said, we're going to talk about upcoming plans. Now this is going to be a fast segment because I don't have any. Not that I can think of, at least. I mean, we'll get to BeamNG ones just a couple seconds. But as far as stuff in real life, I don't have plans. Maybe bring back sign-up series. I've been kind of considering that. We'll see how things go. But we are going to talk about BeamNG plans. I don't think very far ahead with these. I just pick something, I finish that thing, and then after I'm done with that, I think about what my next project is gonna be. So right now, I've talked about this. I talked about this in the Arlington event and in some comment sections. My next event is going to be Atlanta 2021. Ideally, that comes out this Saturday, but I'm not really sure how time's looking. Time might not be on my side for me to be able to get that out. I really don't know. If it's not out this weekend, hopefully it's out by next weekend. I could always do highlights for past BeamNG events or something to buy time. Because, I mean, I do edit these videos a lot. And the reason it's taking me longer now than before is because I'm back into school and all that stuff. So, I don't have as much free time. But, with the free time I do have, which is not very much with homework, I suppose, I'm doing things like this episode. Or I'm doing stuff like, I don't know, maybe usually just sitting on my computer pretty much. So I mean, it's like, it's one of those things that I have fun recording and then editing comes around and I'm like, oh, that's another thing I have to do. Because I mean, I like the final products. I like how the community responds to them. I just don't like how long it takes to edit a video that might get 200 views, which might get me 4 or 5 watch hours. Like, getting 4 to 10 watch hours on a video that I spend a good 15 hours on, it's one of those things where you have to question if it's actually worth it that much or not. But I mean, again, it's a thing where it's not always about, you know, watch hours or stuff like that. Sometimes it's just about actually entertaining. Yeah, see, this last one I did with Arlington, which actually was only 30 minutes. I thought it was closer to 50. This took me probably close to 11 hours to do. It only got 278 views, but it did get 13 watch hours, that's an alright number. It's not crazy, but it's not terrible. 13 watch hours isn't terrible, but when you consider how long it takes to make these, I ideally would have a higher number, and that's what usually holds me back from releasing these massive videos. And keep in mind that I spent like 12 hours to do, and then I go to Monster Jam for a show, and I upload one freestyle that's 4 minutes long, and then that gets me 18 watch hours when it took me maybe 4 minutes to actually do anything with it. It's a weird system. It's a weird system. I don't know. I get that there's an audience for everything. It's just, it gets complicated, I guess, in the sense of that. So now, I think it's time for everybody's favorite part of the weekly update thing. Oh god, I just went to a very old segment I haven't used in a long time. You would have had to be here in like the 3rd episode to remember this. I'm not doing it right now. This was called a driver review. I wanted to buy time and make these things as long as possible. Why, I don't know. So I was doing this thing called a driver review where I cover an entire driver's history. Yeah, I probably won't be returning to that. I don't know why I did that, but that's an old series I had up. Anyways, this is what I was looking for. This is the most fun. This is all the fun stuff. This is when we talk about literally anything. Also, this is when I'm gonna read chat again. Hello, I see we have 2 or 3 more people that have showed up. Colvin. That's tough. I feel like I kind of recognize that name from like Sign Up series or something. It's hard to tell. I actually don't know. Maybe? I don't know. All I could really think to say is maybe. Hang on. I don't know. That would be way back in time, most likely, if it was something like that. Ah, we got a question. Alright, alright. What is the question? I shall await this question. I will wait for the question to be asked. I mean, in the meantime, I could give you guys a little sneak peek for Atlanta if you really want it. I can't show you any of freestyle or skill since I have it recorded, but I haven't started to like edit that stuff yet. But I can show you guys a little bit for racing if you want to see that. I don't know. You guys tell me. Do you want to see a little bit of an early viewing for some stuff in Atlanta? Do you guys want to get a little bit of a sneak peek for that? Because I'll do one if you want. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I think you should do that. Yeah, to be honest, I don't even think I've started voiceovers on this event yet. I haven't. I've just compiled a few of the clips together. But, yeah, that's fair. I mean, I've literally done no work on this whatsoever. It's really just like... Oh god, I have the volume up. Oops. It's just low edits of... Ooh. You know, I'm watching this back right now and I'm like, this is a close race. That was a good race. Wow, okay. I don't remember recording that race. A concrete show? I don't believe so. No, I wouldn't have ever got a chance to see something like that. Because, I mean, like I said before, I've never seen an arena show. Because the closest one is like a 3-hour drive away. So I've never actually been to an arena show before. Which goes for dirt or concrete. I've just never seen one. And back when they did that stuff, I mean, that was like 2012. Because they started putting dirt in 2012, but at that point it was still split like half dirt. Like some shows had dirt, some shows had concrete. So no, I actually never did see a concrete show. I have no clue. That Mr. Beast truck thing was like so weird. I saw like one post about it once and then everyone just kind of forgot it existed. I know, our Time for Adventures did a video about it earlier, but I don't really think it was, like, a news thing. I don't think it was anything new. I don't know, I didn't watch it. I just know it was actually released. So. I've seen, like, concrete shows, they've always seemed like a boring concept. Because it's just not super great. But that being said, I've seen some great, like, pretty cool, pretty unique clips of concrete shows. Like, I want to say it was Charlie Pauken did a wheelie, and because there was no traction, he got on the wheelie bar and just slid on the wheelie bar until he hit the other trucks that were parked. That was pretty cool. That's definitely the coolest thing that I've seen. in an arena show before. For a concrete. I mean, I'm gonna watch World Finals 22, obviously. I'm not gonna be there. Oh, I see, yeah. I'm not gonna be there. Like, I'm not going to the event, but I'm gonna watch it. I mean, standalone events, as far as stadiums go, I still watch every single one of them that gets uploaded. So, World Finals, especially, is not one I'm gonna miss. Also, here's something I want to note. You know how a few years ago, Monster Jam had that whole thing where they copyright striked everything and they made it against the rules to bring in cameras, which lasted through last year. They would occasionally flag cameras if you tried to bring them in. But now, at this previous event I just went to, they explained before freestyle started, the Morgan & Morgan backflip ramp, you're supposed to take out something to record, like your phone or something, and you're actually supposed to, they're now encouraging you to record the events. So isn't that a nice change of personality with Monster Jam? I don't know what the deal with that is, but I mean, sure. I'm all for being able to record without having to go through security being mad at me for holding a camera. So, sure. I know this weekend there's gonna be Atlanta. Atlanta's always fun to watch. It's like, here's the thing, it's like the biggest show ever, but it's always like on the higher side of mid. It's never been like top 10 shows of the year for me. They've been there 2 years now, Atlanta Motor Speedway, 2021 and last year. Neither time was it super outstanding. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't great. Because when you look at things like Indianapolis and East Rutherford, shows that are always great in like some of the smallest stadium floors, and then they go to like Atlanta, it's like the biggest show that they've ever done, and the event's like on the decent side of good. I don't know why. Hopefully maybe we'll see something change for the better with that, and it does become a great event. We'll just have to see how things unfold. Reno's also this weekend, with a pretty interesting lineup. Joe Foley and Corey Rummel were the choices for Team Scream, so that'll be cool. Last year, Reno was pretty awesome when, he did like a backwards flip thing. I thought the county fair ended already. Didn't the county fair end on Sunday? I'm pretty sure it's already over, and I didn't go. Yeah, it ended on... Wait. Yeah, that ended on Sunday. I was so confused, because I was trying to find when it ended, and then I got the dates for next year. That was weird, okay. Well, I guess I know when it's coming next year, 10th through 14th. I just, like, dropped something, and I don't know what. That was weird, okay. No, it's over. I don't know if there's a different event happening this weekend, but the fair's done. I believe Next event in the state is the 28th, but that's all the way in Lake Havasu. And the next show in Main City is in Queen Creek on May 20th. So no, there's still a long time until any more shows happen here. The county fair was the 12th through 16th though. I wish they did. Alright. Tycast 164. Oh, what? Oh, no, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, they have Series 29. I need to do some Superstore shopping, because my stores never stock anything good. They're still on Series 26 right now. Literally, I want Series 27, right? And I've gotten Series 20 through 26 and Series 28. My stores literally went over Series 27. Like, at this point, it feels like a personal thing that Monster Jam has against all the stores that are by me. Because they literally went straight over Series 27. The one series that I really wanted to find. I don't know. And Series 29, I'm also on the lookout for because of Axe and Stabilizer both being in that release. Despite the fact that neither of them are perfect, they're still both pretty cool. I know Joe Foley started in 2021, but he's had a great rookie year. And I know Chris Kohler started many years ago, but it's his first full season, and that's also going pretty great. So that's pretty cool. Whoops, it's not what I wanted to do. You guys have no idea what I'm talking about when I say stuff like that, because it just has the picture on screen. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say here, because I mean, now that I've gone to Glendale, pretty much my schedule is empty, so nice. That's a long time. Yeah, 9 years. Utro's a good event to come back to. Because, I mean, again, despite the bad aspects, I mean, it was definitely better than the first quarter show that happened last year. It was debatably better than the 2020 show. It was better than the 2021 shows. But I mean, it's not the greatest show. I think the best, I mean, it's not I think. The best show that ever came was last October. And then after that, October 2019. But it wasn't a terrible event. It was a pretty good event to come back to. Especially after 9 years. Because you go from the age of, Drive When Broken, Crush Cars, not super big dirt ramps, but still, or not like superly focused on dirt ramps, but they're still pretty pretty big parts of the track, if that makes sense. You go from that to trucks are shut off pretty often. There's like no crush cars. It's all about the dirt ramps. The backflip ramp is utilized every other minute. And these are things that don't really bother me because I've kind of grown up alongside Monster Jam. So like, I don't know. It's like, I don't really care. If it's still entertaining, even if it's not super consistent, if it's still entertaining a good chunk of the time, I still enjoy watching it. I don't know what you mean by that. I'm gonna be completely honest. The third fan-inspired design, I don't even know what the first two were. Like, I have no clue. So, yeah, 2014 and... Well, 2014 being called underrated is one thing. 2016 being called underrated is an entirely different thing. I mean, I'm gonna say it, because everyone wants to say it. The 2016 World Finals was not great. It wasn't bad, but it was definitely not super crazy. I mean, yeah, there were some good runs, but it wasn't like... Again, I say this about everything, but it wasn't outstanding. So, I mean, it's just like the year is overlooked because that's the year between Monster Jam transitioning from like their 2014 style to their current day style. And that's because, so 2016 was really not that different from 2014. Trucks still drove with broken tire rods and broken planetaries and broken drive shafts, and they still got saves. They still did encores that were like, obviously, like, you know how they used to do shows like in East Rutherford and stuff that had encores? I think they still did stuff like that in 2016 with international shows especially. 2016 was a great year. The only reason, I mean, I talked about this I think last week. What my theory is on why Monster Jam changed so drastically not long ago, looking in 2017, I think the reason that I think it changed so drastically is because of Dennis Anderson's retirement. Monster Jam wasn't going to completely change it when Dennis was driving, because then he would leave and go to a different tour. But when Dennis was actually forced to stop driving, then it didn't matter. They've already lost their best driver, so they're just going to do whatever they want to make more money. That is what I think is the reason that they became so much harsher. I don't think it was something that... I don't think they wanted to not be harsh all this time. I think they just were too scared to. Because also, when Ryan earlier this year pointed out to the officials that they were shutting too many things off, they stopped doing that for a few weeks. Because they're scared to lose their good drivers. So, yeah. Next sign-up series. I don't know. It's one of those things that, like, occasionally I'm like, that could be fun to do. I'm gonna set one of those up. But, that being said, it's not, like, something that I like doing every single week. I mean, it has, like, the fun aesthetic and, like, it builds on the community and stuff, but they're not super well-performing videos. I always have my BeamNG events now premiering on weekends, and I mean, even if it is just playing with die-cast vehicles, it's a tiring thing to do, especially in and out. It takes hours sometimes just to do an event, because I have to do the track setup. There are some times where something goes wrong and I have to reshoot the whole event. Like, maybe by the end of the event, like, the whole track setup falls over or something. Or I realize that I wasn't even recording. That's happened before, and I have to redo everything. It's chaos sometimes with doing sign-up series, but it's just a thing that, like, I don't plan. It just comes along sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I'll do another sign-up series. Best World Finals? That's a tough question. 2012 was great for everything except for the event itself. Like, the encores were cool, you know. But the event itself had great moments, but not consistency. 2014 was really good. 2022 was really good. That's one that you can't forget. 2022 was an amazing World Finals. So I'm gonna be honest here. It's really, for me, this might be far out. I'm stuck between 2017 and 2022 right now. And everyone says that either 2017 was super amazing or it's super overrated. But when there are two moves done for the first time during competition, when debatably one of the best encores ever, not even debatably, one of the best encores ever is put down. Racing is awesome. Freestyle is consistent. I feel like 2017 is just such an obvious choice. And then people come out to say that it's overrated and stuff, but I mean, the whole experimenting with the fan judging, because that was the first time they tried it, that didn't go so well. I'll admit it. But as far as the actual competition was, I don't think it was bad. So I'd have to say 2017. Yeah, with diecast trucks, I did a full count last year. I literally spent like 9 hours setting up my truck so I could do an account with them because someone asked me to. So I spent hours creating full setup for a video that got like 80 views because one person wanted to see it. It is what it is. That was a few months ago, so I don't know what my count is now. The count I had then was 739 164th trucks that aren't in the box, and then 36 124s that aren't in the box. That's not including trucks that are in the box, because I had like, if I was counting sealed stuff, I probably have close to 150, 200 trucks that I haven't opened. And that was months ago. Now I've opened I've at least got at least 100 loose diecasts. So I'm definitely looking at over 1,000 trucks in my total diecast collection. If I had to take a rough but honest estimate, maybe close to 1,100, somewhere around there. See, I don't think worrying that much about the scoring should change everything. Like, I'm not trying to say that I agree with the scoring by any means. I'm just saying, like, saying that you don't like a super good event because someone lost. I mean, I remember that year, like, I was kind of young at the time still. And I threw, like, a tantrum when Neil Elliott didn't win freestyle. Because at that time, I was, like, all-out Max D kid. And I was not happy when he didn't win. And he definitely deserved to win, looking back on the World Finals. But I was so mad when he didn't win. But really, I mean, being mad that he didn't win, that's something that a little kid does, right? Just because he didn't win doesn't mean the event was bad. That was a great event. Just because someone didn't win, I mean, I get the competition aspect, but I watch it for entertainment. I don't watch it, I mean, I love rooting for drivers, but I'm not gonna care that much if a specific driver does bad if another driver does incredible. That's just the way I look at it. So I do agree that there is zero chance that Lee O'Donnell should have won that year, but he still had a pretty cool moment, and that made the World Finals, that made World Finals 18 what World Finals 18 is. The front flip. That is literally what, I mean, even World Finals that still happen are represented by that front flip. That's like when Monster Jam's advertising anything, it's always that front flip. That is weird to think about. Both Tom Meents and Dennis Anderson not in the World Finals. I don't think that ever happened again, did it? Because Tom returned in 2018, did he not? Or did he return in 2019? I'm gonna find this out. Yeah. That was the single World Finals, that they weren't there. Strange. I never thought about that. Still doesn't mean it was bad, though. Like, again, it's always fun to follow drivers, but no matter who the driver is a good run at the end of the day. Also, this is a thing that some people tend to forget about. Still, to this day, Jim Kohler is the only driver that has gone to every single World Finals event that has ever happened, whilst also being invited to every high jump competition that has ever happened. So, I mean, that's interesting. No other driver. And he's not been great in points this year, but, like, if there's ever a year that Monster Jam doesn't let him into the World Finals that he's still driving, I will personally go and find whoever is in charge of that decision, because you can't, one, you can't break a streak like that, and two, points aren't everything. Drivers who are in the bottom half of the point standings are still good drivers. They might just have one or two off events that end up causing them to struggle, you know? I don't think ever taking Jim Kohler out of the World Finals lineup is a good idea. Also, Chris Kohler needs to be invited to the World Finals this year. There's no way he's not invited, right? I don't know. It's hard to say, because Monster Jam is very unpredictable with indie drivers, but to me, there's just no way that they don't invite Chris Kohler to the World Finals. Between his skills challenges and his freestyles, he is by far capable of winning a World Finals competition at this point. So I'm really, really hoping that he does get a shot in Nashville this year. We'll have to see how things go. Again, these Monster Jam officials are very unpredictable, and not just track officials. Like, I mean, like, officials of the, like, whole organization that put the things together. They can be very unpredictable, so I don't know. But Chris Kohler and Jim Kohler better both be present at World Finals. Otherwise, I don't know. If they invite, like, Kristen Anderson, who's only in 3rd place on her tour, but they don't invite John Zimmer Jr., who almost won his tour, that is just, like, rude. That is, I don't know, that is just wrong. How do you can't do that. Like, Joe Foley, I mean, again, he's not a bad driver. Joe Foley is a great driver, but I don't think he'll be invited to the World Finals because I don't see him perform. He can perform high enough in the World Finals. He just hasn't had the consistency that Feld wants when they assign lineups. Whereas Zach Gardner and John Zimmer Jr., they have both had very consistent seasons both this year and last year, and yet neither they have been confirmed for the World Finals. Last year they weren't invited, so this year they better be. I will definitely agree that John Zimmer Jr. and Zach Gardner need to be at the World Finals. Especially with we all knew Zach Gardner was a great driver for quite a decent amount of time. But last October especially, he proved that he needs to be, 1, at the World Finals, 2, on a stadium tour. I don't know whose idea it was to put Zach Gardner on an arena tour and not invite him to the World Finals, but he better get an invitation this year. And same with John Zimmer Jr., who nearly won his tour. That better happen with both of them. Because, I mean, have you seen Arena Series Central? It's insane. I've never, this year, seen Arena Series Central have a single bad performance by any of the drivers. Every driver on Arena Series Central always has a great night. I don't know who put that Arena Series together, but I'm going to come out here and say it. By next year, every driver on Arena Series Central should be taken, and then take drivers from the other Arena Series So Arena Series Central, with a few drivers from the other Arena Series, better make a third Stadium Series next year. Because Brandon Vincent, John Zimmer Jr., Zach Garner, Tony Oaks, Cody Saucier, Brandon Teluchka even, these are all drivers who, for their entire careers, have been consistent. For their rookie years, were incredible. And yet they've still, for most of their time, been on Arena Series. I don't know why Cody Saucier got moved back to Arenas. I don't know whose idea that was. I'm just glad he's returning to stadiums, touring with Stadium Series Blue this weekend and for the remainder of its events, because I don't know why they put all these good drivers onto this Arena Series and don't. I mean, they used to have 3 Stadium Series, and they used to have 14 trucks on each of those Stadium Series with like 1 or 2 Triple Threat Series. But now it's 3 Arena Series and 2 Stadium Series. So they need to take Arena Series Central and pick and choose out a few other drivers like Tristan England and Armando Castro, and they need to make a 3rd Stadium Series, because every driver on Arena Series Central needs to be on a Stadium Series. And I will not change my mind on that. There's no way. Every driver has proven themselves very clearly to be on a Stadium Series. No, I do not. I do not have one. What? Hang on, I did something wrong here. Okay. Anyways. Now now my rant is done about how Monster Jam needs to fix their series, because they have all the drivers and arenas that need to be in stadiums and have to. I'm gonna be harshly honest here. Some of the drivers that are on stadium tours this year are definitely not as good as some of the drivers that are on Arena Series currently. Like, I mean, this is a far out example, because this was a last minute change, but Chelsea Van Cleave, I mean, obviously she's temporary, and pretty soon Cody Saucier is back to stadiums, but I don't know what the whole case is with that. I'm just glad Cody Saucier is back in stadiums. You're back now. Did you not have to hear my entire rant about Arena Series Central? Because if not, I guess you're pretty lucky, because I just spent like 5 minutes talking about Arena Series Central, specifically about the lineup too. I think you successfully got around having to listen to that entire thing. I just gave an entire speech about Arena Series Central lineup. So, if you weren't there, I mean, I guess you didn't get all your time wasted. Don't even say Tristan England. Now, Tristan England 100% does need to be in stadiums, but that's definitely not my first thought. Like, he's definitely one of the first drivers I would rush to put on a stadium series if they were to make a 3rd one. But I mean, Brandon Vincent is a World Finals champion in an Arena Series. John Zimmer Jr. and Zach Garner have done incredible shows independently in big floors. Not to mention, Zach Garner has done several Monster Jam shows in big floors that have proven his potential. And I mean, Tristan England has had big shows that he's done good at too, for sure. The one thing with that is the fact that, I mean, again, I'm not going to be that person that says you need a backflip to be good, but Zach Garner, who has been kept in arena since he started driving, goes to like 1 or 2 Monster Jam Stadium events a year, and he always lands the backflip ramp, whereas Tristan England, I don't know if he's ever attempted to hit a container backflip ramp before. I don't think he ever has. Maybe at the World Finals once, years ago. I'm not sure, though. Not that I'm aware of. But we see independent drivers, and we see World Finals champions that have done it, and still are on arenas. Especially David Olford. Everyone overlooks David Olford. Because he's not... he's a good arena driver, but he's not super out there with arenas. But with stadiums, he's only ever had good moments. So, why did they put him back in the arenas? I don't know. Also, between Armando Castro and Elvis Linos, some of the El Toro Loco drivers on Arena Series need to be in stadiums. And whoever put Chad Tingler and Frank Krimmel in Arena Series needs to be fired, because they are not arena drivers. They are stadium drivers, and they always have been stadium drivers. So Chad Tingler and Frank Krimmel, and also last year, Steve Sims, they should not be on Arena Series. They need to be on Stadium Series. And I will make sure, I am going to make sure that a third Stadium Series is made so that these drivers get their proper series that they need. Because they can't just stay on Arena Series when they're way better than anything the Arena Series would have. You know, I'm just now remembering that all the arena drivers, like, how many drivers last year broke first or second hit in freestyle? Like, not even just arena drivers, like Corey Rummel, Brandon Vincent, Tristan England, all broke, like, instantly. And all in the same way, too. I kind of forgot about that. I don't think, off the top of my head, there's too much else for me to cover. There's just one thing I want to say, that Monster Jam should make their arena layouts a little bit different, because, like, independent shows like Toughest Monster Truck Tour have pretty cool arena series setups that do cool, they do get cool shows, and the pod can get cool shows. It does get some cool events. But I would definitely say that the pod that Monster Jam uses is a lot more predictable and occasionally inconsistent than when you have more unique lineups and track setups like Toughest Monster Truck Tour does. Yeah, I think we've reached everything. Finally! It's been like 5 episodes since I actually had one last a decent amount of time. All my other ones within the past 5 episodes have all been like 20 to 40 minutes. Finally, we have one that's past an hour. Yeah, when they give Salinas like 10 truck lineups, I think they should do that for Tacoma and Fargo. And I don't think they deserve to be arena tour shows because they're too different from arenas. They're not really arenas, right? I don't think they're arenas. they're definitely bigger. And, like, when you look at the old things that they used to do in Tacoma, when they used to invite Ryan Anderson and people there, those shows were interesting. So I think they should start to, maybe go back to doing that. No, I do not have it. And I think, on that note, it is time to wrap this up. An hour, 16 minutes. Nice. That is longest episode since episode 15. And even then, before episode 15, the closest we've had to this was back in episode 10. So, I guess every 5 episodes, we have one that just goes really well. Because episode 20, episode 15, episode 10, and episode 5 were all pretty long episodes. So, I guess we're just on a streak here. Every 5 episodes, something good happens. So, I guess the next few weekly updates aren't going to be great, but I guess keep a lookout for episode 25, because that one's going to be big time. So, yeah, I'll see you guys next time, in either a BeamNG thing or the next weekly update. We'll see how things go. I'll see you